if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person.
Very fine people on both sides. You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
It's a lie on a news network, and it's a lie that's that's a lie that they're conscious of.
Good evening, viewers, and welcome to tonight's episode of Grumpy Old Men. I'm Pinky, and as always, we have Grumpy. Well, we don't normally do two episodes back-to-back of the same content, but given the week we've had, it's now Thursday, Anzac Day, and the week we've had, we felt it was necessary to bring up a few points that have surfaced throughout the week. Again, in regard to free speech, I'm sure everyone's paying attention to that because it's just been blowing up social networks for days. I think ever since probably early April, when the digital ID sort of came to the forefront, people started to pay attention to that, and since then we've had other things around the world, such as Brazil, where there have been free speech issues mostly revolving around X, and now here in Australia we've had a pretty eventful week. So we thought we'd come back to that again and go over a few more things. So Greg, what have we discovered in the last couple of days?
Good evening, viewers. No, you're right. It's absolutely blown up here in Australia, but it's been picked up by America on a huge scale. There's so many accounts on my X feed, that are just sharing it left, right and centre. It's absolutely everywhere, and they're laughing at us. They are literally laughing at us because of our draconian rules that we seem to be imposing now. And basically, like you said, it goes back to the digital ID, but also the horrible stabbings that we had a few weeks ago. It all accumulated from that incident, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, and it just keeps when you think it's sort of under control, it just ends up getting worse.
Yeah.
And what I think they've done is created the Streisand effect. Have you heard of that phrase? Yeah. Viewers, in case you don't know what that means, a long time ago, when the world was flat. Actually, not that long ago.
Okay.
There was a situation where Barbara Streisand called out this photographer who took a photo of her house. Now, the way that worked was no one knew about this image. No one cared about it. And I think the house on the photographer's website only had about 300 people that actually looked at the photo. So because Barbara Streisand actually called out the photographer, it brought all this attention to the image, and that's how you got the Streisand effect. So every time something's unnoticeable or goes under the radar, then something like this happens. It brings it out into the light, and all of a sudden everyone's going, "Oh, what's going on?" But it's your fault, you idiots. You caused an issue out of this in the first place.
I think it's great that it's come to that though, like to be a topic like this.
I
it's
agree.
got the whole country talking about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I agree, because this is our second episode, like you said, in a row about the same subject. But this is really a really critical subject.
Oh, it is.
Because it changes so many things, including for us. I mean, who knows, in 5 years' time, we won't be able to have this conversation.
That's exactly
right. Because they've decided, okay, we don't like the subject, we'll tell you, and we'll censor you for your safety, because that's what they always say.
Yeah.
It's always for us. So, of course, the pollies have jumped in on the whole situation. We've got a couple of senators. Both parties have actually jumped in on this. Who's the opposition leader? Baldy. I'm allowed to say that because I'm
Because
bald.
you are, yeah.
Yeah, Dutton.
Yep.
He's jumped in. He's actually supported Albanese as well, Anthony Albanese, who's our Australian Prime Minister. And that is scary on so many levels.
Yeah.
Then we've got these senators who I've never heard of, like Jackie Lambie. She's an Aboriginal politician from Tasmania. I mean, who cares about Tasmania anyway, to start off with?
I've got mates in Tassie. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so have I, but I still don't care
We
about
love you.
Tasmania.
We love you.
No, just kidding. Just kidding. It's Tasmania. What year is it there,
They always
by the
get
way?
they always get left off the map.
Oh, not in this case.
Yeah, well, certainly not.
Yeah, well, Jackie Lambie's, like I said, she's a senator, or was a senator of Tasmania. Now, she's jumped in on it. She's, by the sound of it, is pro-censorship. Now, who is she? Quick rundown that I did a bit of research on. She's currently 53 years old. She served 10 years in the Australian Army, where she was in logistics, I think, at first, then became military police.
Yep.
So she was there until she was forced out because of injury. So thanks for your service. That was,
Yeah. We are.
yeah.
That's genuine. We're
Yeah,
not being
yeah,
sarcastic.
absolutely,
Thank you for
yeah,
your service. Yeah. Totally.
And in 2014 is when she became the Tasmanian senator. With the Palmer United Party. And that was a kind of would you call them a serious party?
I don't know. See, I can't get past the fact that his surname sounds like something you have at the pub. Here in Australia, where I'm sure I'm sure they have Palmers overseas, but here we have a Palmer.
Yeah.
It's like a really common.
A Palmer and beer.
Yeah, Palmer in a pot down at the
Yeah.
local. Yeah. But anyway.
But to add to it, Clive Palmer in, was it 2012, decided he wanted to do a replica of the Titanic.
And how'd that go?
It failed.
So the idea sank.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Like the original
it hit an
Titanic.
iceberg. But I think just recently this year, maybe early this year, he's tried to start the project up again with Chinese funding. Correct me if I'm wrong. Leave a comment in the comments section and let us know. Didn't do any research on that one because it's the freaking Titanic.
Yeah,
I don't-
exactly.
I think China at one stage actually started building the Titanic as well.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, I segued there.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the bio. Now, she resigned from the party, then started her own called the Jackie Lambie Network political party. It sounds like social media.
It does. It's an
Yeah.
odd name, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I
would-
get you.
yeah.
In politics, it's pretty typical
Yeah.
to use your own name for the party.
Well, Clive
But
Palmer did, yeah.
The network bit in
Yeah.
the middle sounds like they're going to
Yeah.
sell Tupperware or something. I don't know.
Tupperware. Oh, well, this woman does not sell Tupperware because
No.
she's a nasty piece of work, I reckon. Very brash and just... Actually, let's have a quick gander because that's what we do in Australia. And this is Jackie Lambie doing what she does best. She yells and screams a lot and she's very passionate about what she does. Now, in 2017, resigned from the Senate, or she was re-elected in 2016, then resigned in 2017 because she's a dual nationalist, and that's against the law in Australia. You
Yeah,
have
to
to
sit
be-
as a
yeah,
politician.
that's right.
Yep.
That's right. So, she's an independent now, I think, or something like that. But, or no, she was running as an independent when she was re-elected in 2016.
That sounds more likely, yeah.
That was it. So, yeah, young Jackie's decided to come out of the woodwork and start kicking into Elon Musk about simply because of those videos of the stabbing. Like we mentioned in the previous episode, they had warnings on that video.
Yeah.
They actually blurted out and said graphic content, and it was your choice to watch it or not. But Jackie and Julie Inman, I forgot his surname, Grant, and they decided not only to control the censorship in Australia, but they wanted to do it worldwide. Now, how does one country start, policing the whole world?
Well,
It's
that's
just
right.
crazy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's why this is starting to feel like it's no longer about Sydney. That's how
No.
it feels to me. It hasn't felt like that for days now. It literally just feels like, what's the best way to put it? I mean, it's really just comes down to Musk versus Albanese at the end of the day because, he's the head of our government. So, and it feels like from both perspectives, they're trying to stick it to the man. That's how it feels when you look at their arguments. That's how it feels because you've got Elon Musk saying, in his side, he's sticking it to the man by saying, no, this is a free speech platform, and we're not going to have one country control what other countries can see. it's enough that you're controlling your own. And then you've got Albanese taking the same sort of approach where he's sticking it to the man because he doesn't want, he doesn't want Elon Musk to have that sort of power and control. But at the end of the day, that's the irony to this, is that Musk isn't trying to take control. We said this in the last episode. He's not there choosing for himself what he thinks people should see. He's allowing people to see everything.
Yeah, correct. He's not censoring anybody.
Yeah, that's the hypocrisy in it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is what I find absolutely scary, is the fact that the government has stepped in and with such a heavy foot, they actually... Before we go any further, let me play a bit of a history of Jackie Lambie, okay? Now, this is going back to the days with lockdowns and the COVID restrictions that we had in Australia. And here in Australia, particularly in Victoria, we had the longest lockdowns in the world. I think it was 263 days we were locked down.
Yeah.
That's, what's that?
Almost a year.
More than 3/4 of a year, yeah.
Yep.
And we had stupid rules like... you couldn't travel more than 5 kilometres. And what were some of the other ones? There was a
lot.
Yeah, like for instance, the curfew, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. curfew.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm safe at 7:59, but I'm,
Yeah, we're
I'm
all
at
screwed at 8 o'clock.
Crazy. But anyway, like I said, I'm going to play a bit of Jackie during these COVID days, and she got up there and wanted to say her piece. So this is just, about 30 seconds long.
Being held accountable for your own actions isn't called discrimination. It's called being, you wouldn't believe it, a goddamn bloody adult. That's right as being an adult. It's putting others before yourself. And that's what this country's supposed to be about. The way out of lockdowns and restrictions is vaccinations, because there is nothing else on the table. Let's be honest about that. It is the only weapon we have. And we need to do everything we possibly can to keep ourselves safe, our kids safe, our grandchildren safe.
Look, you can't knock her passion. I'll give her that. She, points for passion, but wow,
Talk about control.
Yeah. Scary.
Yeah.
But I still, every time I hear her voice, though, all I hear is, oh, Kimmy, look at me, look at me.
That's a very Australian reference.
Yeah.
That one,
Look, that show goes around the world. I'm sure a lot of people know what I'm talking about.
No, actually, no, you're right, because they actually tried to do an American version and
it didn't
failed
work.
miserably.
You need
didn't have the
Aussie cast
nuance.
for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And she reminds me of our previous female Prime Minister.
Yeah. Julia Gillard.
Julia Gillard. Same type of...
Yeah, similar.
Yeah.
At least she was more poised and articulated, I think. but yeah, similar accent. That typical... If anybody out there, especially in the US or wherever, is thinking, Australians have this kind of almost Englishy sort of accent. Well, there's a whole other side to the Australian accent, which is called our bogan accent.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was it. So,
it's like the hillbilly accent.
It's like your rednecks.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
So, anyway, there's so much to unpack in that one little statement. And we're going back at least a couple of years, I think, with that one.
Yeah.
There's so much control there. There's so much saying that you have no say in it. I'm going to tell you how to live your life. And you're a piece of poo.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep this family friendly. A piece of poo if you do not comply to how I tell you to. That's crazy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, because of all this issue with Elon Musk, she's decided to go onto the media network, onto the how would you call it, the media train, and speak her mind once again. And here she is on radio, and I believe this was yesterday morning.
Might have been Tuesday.
Yeah. No, it was a couple of days ago. That's right. Yeah. So let's just pop over to that one, and I'll just cue it up. And
Elon Musk has no social conscience or conscience whatsoever. I don't know, whatever Elon Musk is on, it says that that's okay to continue to air that is absolutely disgusting behaviour. And quite frankly, the bloke should be jailed. And the sooner that we can bring rules in or do something about this sort of game playing with our social media, the better off we're going to be. But quite frankly, the power that man has, because of that platform that he's on, it's got to stop. It has absolutely got to stop.
The power that man has.
This is what I was saying earlier about it's like the narrative is backwards.
Yeah.
You really look at what's happening. You've got one person who's, regardless of his billionaire status, you got one person who's trying to advocate for free speech right around the world. And then you've got one country with, 23 million people. We don't even have the population of California. And we're standing on a soapbox trying to say, well, no, we shouldn't allow that to be out there for everybody to see. We certainly don't want it in Australia, and we shouldn't allow that to go anywhere around the world. And then calling him out as being a control freak. It's totally reverse to that.
Yeah.
That's what people aren't seeing. People just watch the general media, typical media, 7, 9, 10. They've got no clue.
One of the things I was always very interested in American politics, because there was so much happening, especially at the moment. And I didn't find Australian politics that interesting. Wasn't my thing. It was more your thing. That's the type of thing you like. Even though I had like my tippy toe in it, I kind of was aware of what's going on. And I used to watch all my feed on my Twitter feed and whatever, YouTube, that type of thing. And I'd look at it and I'd think, oh, we're so lucky that we haven't gone down that rabbit hole, that that void, that abyss.
And now here we are.
And all of a sudden, it just absolutely blown up within a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I was already seeing a lot of things that were coming from the US to us. Some of the woke trash that I'd seen, and I thought, okay, this is a warning for us. And then, before you could blink, it was here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was here in full force.
If you watch mainstream media, they're all taking the same stand as the government.
Exactly.
They just want to bury Elon Musk.
Yeah.
But if you speak to the person in the street, most of them are smarter than that. And these pollies have to be very careful, because when it comes time for voting, some things we forget about, some things we don't forget about.
Yeah.
And taking away everybody's free speech is something we won't forget about. So,
totally agree. This is going to be such a wake-up call for so many people.
Yeah.
What's even worse for me is a lot of the media is actually backing them up.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
These people are so stupid and they don't even know. Yeah. This is how communism works. Eventually it comes for you. You're going to turn around and go, oh, look, I'm the leader of the pack. And before you know it, you're at the back of the pack.
Yeah, yeah. When communism kicks in, we'll all be equal. It's just that we'll all be equally poor.
That's right. Yeah. Equity. You got to love equity.
Yeah.
So, and of course, she's Jackie has gone on to television as well. She's done a few news reports. Here's one that she went on to Sky News. Again, I think it was the same day. She did the radio in the morning, then maybe Sky News in the evening. But don't quote me on that. I'm kind of guessing because I didn't have an exact timestamp. So let's have a look at that very quickly.
The alleged attack, and Elon Musk really showing contempt for the government and its approach on this issue. What's your take on the tech billionaire?
So when it comes to the tech billionaire, like I've already said, I think he's a social media knob with no social conscience. He has absolutely no social conscience. Someone like that should be in jail and the key be thrown away. That bloke should not have a right to be out there on his own ideology platform and creating hatred, showing all this stuff out there to our kids and doing all the rest. I'm very interested to watch what the US is going to do with TikTok and how far that they can do with trying to get rid of that platform as well. So I think we're all watching on the United States at the moment to see what they're doing. But seriously, if we can move, and if that means in the next sitting that we can shut him down from doing this, because this is just disgraceful.
You kick the platform out?
I don't give a stuff about the platform. I'm happy to go off the platform today, to be honest with you. I already have a list of all you journalists. I don't even know why we're on the platform. But I say this to everybody else. I'll be switching off X today. I'll be doing that before I get to the airport this afternoon. And I suggest that the other 227 members of parliament do the same thing and show them that you mean business. Because when you want to lead by example, it has to happen from here. It has to happen from here. So start switching off X. Start throwing it back at him. But we've got to start from here.
Jackie Lambie, David Pocock, great to see you both, and happy birthday.
Look, like
What
I
a
said,
horrid person.
yeah, but like I said, you can't knock her passion. She absolutely believes what she's saying, you know, and
But
she's
that
and she
doesn't
did
make it right.
I'm not saying it is,
Yeah.
but she did exactly what she said she would do. She took herself off X, so which is sad because they're going to miss her.
And and there's the account there. So
Yeah, no, but it's just a shame. I see, you know me, I don't always view things exactly the same way as you. I agree that she's on the wrong path, but I look at people like her and I think, imagine what they could do if they were on the right path. Because with that much passion, you know, she could be a powerful person if she was, you know.
But the thing is, she thinks she's on the right path.
That's the problem, isn't it? It's the same with a lot of people. Yeah.
How do you get to the mentality when you start thinking, I'm going to, you know, infringe on your rights, your normal everyday rights of speech?
It's because those environments are an echo chamber. We know that. You look at fresh blood into politics. You look at something like Donald Trump, not a politician, comes in with a whole new attitude, you know, whereas all the pollies are on pretty much the same page. And it's the same
deep
here.
state,
You know, we've discussed this before with people like Senator Ralph Babbitt. You know, he's fresh blood. He's not a career politician. He's come in with a very wholesome approach that most Australians would want to get behind once you've all heard of him and you start looking him up. You know,
Yeah, I've got to admit, I was new to Babbitt as well. You introduced me to him and I started watching his videos.
Yeah.
Very impressed. Very impressed.
Yeah, yeah.
Go
So
on, sorry.
yeah, so that's my point. Is, you know, when you're in those environments, like she's been involved in politics since what, 2013? Didn't you say?
Yeah. Oh no, 2012.
Well, anyway, so either way, so
Whatever,
we're talking what,
yeah.
11, 12, 13 years of politics. It becomes an echo chamber, you know, and then you know what it's like. You start to side with the people around you, and then you all start. And it doesn't take long for 2 or 3 other people to convince you that something is a certain way, and that's how it becomes.
Sure.
And so I think it's a you know, that's a big part of what's happening there with someone like her, where she's got a political background of the last decade, and you know, she's jumping on board with the other pollies. You know,
Where did it all go wrong where the politicians were working for us? They were trying to, you know, they were representing the people. When did it change?
I think a lot of it changes with the way that bills and movements are brought into Parliament, because we don't get a say on that. You know, we elect people, even if you do your homework and you know who your pollies are and where you stand and where they stand, they're elected into power based on, you know, what they put forward, their ideals. And they say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we stand for this, we stand for that. And, you know, we vote them into power based on that. But once they get in there, you know, and they start passing bills and coming up with different legislation, we don't have a say on that. We don't get to vote on those things, very, very rarely. And look at what happens when we do. The government spends stupid amounts of money, you know, getting people to vote on things that are totally irrelevant or you know, have no real point to them. And then the government's always wrong. When are they going to stop and realise? I mean, look at what's happened with The Voice.
That's right, the yes vote.
Classic example, right? The government was convinced this was going to be a shoo-in, and look at what happened. So they just absolutely don't have the finger on the pulse when it comes to the, you know, the Australian people.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. The only way to change it, I guess, is through senators like Babbitt, who are now moving in. They've got their own voice now.
Yeah.
They've got their own social platform. Because Babbitt's got his own little show that he puts up once a week or something.
Something like that, yeah.
And I think the last one came out a day ago or something. It was really fascinating. And he was talking about censorship as well.
Yeah.
He's right against it. And why would you control speech? I mean, it's going to kick you in the arse eventually as well.
People in those sort of powerful positions, the only time they want to control speech is when they don't want the truth to get out. So instead of trying to control the narrative, why don't you do something more constructive, like change policies and change bills to what people actually want? You know, whether it's to their own detriment. You know, we're all adults.
Yeah.
You know, if we're voting on something, we're adults, I should say. There are plenty of kids in the country, but you know, the people that vote are able to vote on these, or should be able to vote on these things, are adults. We can make decisions for ourselves. And if it's a bad decision, well, then we vote on that, and we should wear that as a country.
Yeah.
But to be so condescending and treat the Australian public like they don't know what they want and they don't know how to handle. So, I mean, you look at what's happening with this thing with the church, right? They're basically saying, well, you're not capable of watching that without having a meltdown. You know, oh, we love you, Australian citizens, but if you watch that, there'll be riots in the street. Like, fucking give me a break. Sorry about my French, but yes. Yeah, I mean, give us. It's so condescending. Just, you know.
It's funny, because I swear a lot, so I've been really good.
We've said, I think that's the first one in 12 episodes, so you're not doing too bad.
I'm going to go back through the episodes. I'm going to mark them off. Yeah,
start marking.
Yeah.
Putting them in.
So anyway, I've got one more interview from her. Oh God. Okay, I'm pretty sure you can expect. You know what to expect from it, but yeah, I'm going to play it.
Sounds like if the major parties were to introduce laws that would start restricting social media companies in a meaningful way, you would potentially support that. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely, I would support that. Less content is good, I think. Absolutely, I would support that. Less content is good, I think. And, you know, still being able to, where you're watching something live that is horrific and those social media platforms are not shutting them down effective immediately, it's just shameful in itself. I think we're on our last line with those social media platforms.
Yeah.
Again,
Scary on so many levels.
We have content warnings for a reason.
Oh, that's right.
You know,
that's right.
So yeah, but look, at the end of the day, you know, anybody out there watching that's has any sort of strong political view in one direction or the other, how many times have you been in Facebook jail? leave an answer in the comments. How many times you've been in Facebook jail and for how long?
Yeah, correct.
Right, that's a censored platform. Now, do you want that everywhere? You know. Or, you know, because that's where it'll end up. Because don't forget, Meta were quite happy to, you know, adhere to the Australian government's regulation or requests in regard to this, and took down any footage. It's only X that's saying no. So really, you know, that should tell you something already. If you understand how Facebook works and the amount of content censorship on there, as opposed to X, it shows where all this is heading. And it's all over. Well, they're using this as a catalyst. It's not all over one thing, but they're using that as a catalyst, this one event.
Yeah, but it's also coming from all sorts of directions as well. We've got the government as well, the E-Safety Commission. We've got the media that are supporting this.
Yep.
It's an onslaught, absolute onslaught of it. But that's the problem when you have the left that controls the majority of the institutions.
Yeah.
You know, and they're trying to control the narrative. Thank God for Elon Musk and his social platform. Doesn't matter what you think of the guy. Forget about the guy. Just remember the availability we have to information now on X that we didn't have before. And yes, sure, it's because of Elon Musk who brought the sanity back into X, but that platform, it is that platform that allows us to share the information. Yeah. And of course, we've got to always shout out to the independent journalists.
Absolutely.
We're more commentators because we like to bitch about what's happening on the internet. But there's so many independent journalists out there that are doing the hard yards.
Oh, for sure.
They're doing fantastic work. Of course, your other senators like Babbitt, we've mentioned a few times, they're doing absolutely fantastic jobs, you know. And eventually we'll win because we are, as cliche as it might sound, we are on the right side of history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, to that point, I mean, what you've got to see from X's perspective, and you're right, it's not about Elon Musk. I mean, personally, I call him Electric Jesus because, as far as I'm concerned, that's the way he portrays himself. I think I think what he stands for is great. I could take or leave the guy on a personal level. Giving his kids weird names, I don't know. But anyway, but look, you can like or dislike the guy. It doesn't matter. This is well beyond that. It's like saying, you know, I believe in what the government's saying because I like Albanese, or vice versa. Yeah. It's not about him. It's about the government versus X, and you know they're both soapboxing, but that's the reality of it. But what you've got to understand as well from all of this is that this is another landmark case. And this is what I've been saying on a couple of episodes lately. There are landmark cases happening all around the world. There's a couple that are happening here in Australia that people need to pay attention to. Yeah. That's probably the most important one right now because it affects so many different things. But this is probably right up there on that level of importance as well, because what you've got to also take into account, right, let's just say the government wins, and now they have the ability to tell X to take things down that are related to Australia. Where do you draw the line? You'll want to know what's happening with Palestine and Israel. You'll want to know what's happening with Russia and Ukraine and Poland. You won't know. You won't know any of this stuff because all of a sudden, if a pissant little country like Australia, and I can say that because I live here, if a country this small can have that much power over such a large corporation that has a free speech policy, what's to stop other countries from doing the same thing? What's to stop Russia from saying, well, we don't like that information being out there, so sorry, you have to take it off X? Or any other country, it doesn't matter which side of the fence you sit on, you've got an opinion, you've got a view. Imagine having that view and that opinion taken away from you, and any of that information that's helping you to understand what's happening in the world on a global scale. That's where we're going to end up. All you're going to see is fucking puppies and kittens, I get fired up about this stuff because it really drives me nuts. And, that's where we'll end up. In a couple of years' time, we won't be talking about Russia and Ukraine and other things that are happening around the world and the WEF and all the other, the WHO and Doctors Without Morals and all the rest of it. Instead of talking about the things that are important, that change society around the world.
Yeah, that actually affect our lives directly.
We won't know. That's the problem. We won't even know. We won't be able to have the conversation because we don't know what's happening. Instead, we'll just be talking about what we did on the weekend and the latest car show and, like I said, kittens and puppy videos, which, that's what we're going to be. That's what we're going to be doing. That's what we face when there's no more free speech.
Again, thanks to the independent journalists, they keeping us afloat.
Yeah.
With the information.
Well, unless they start doing more things like London Real, where they start having their own website that you can go to watch their videos, it's going to get harder for them when more and more restrictions come into play. Because there's only a couple of platforms now that allow a lot of free speech. I mean, even YouTube, where we are now, is highly censored. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets kicked off. But, you've got Rumble and you've got, obviously you've got X and, to a degree, TikTok. Believe it or not, there's a lot of little things that you can put on TikTok and get away with. There are some free speech platforms out there right now, but for how long?
Yeah, correct.
And if X tumbles over this with Brazil and Australia and whoever else wants to then jump on the bandwagon, what's to stop the others?
Yeah.
And then of course, even if you do something like London Real, where you have your own website and people can come there and watch your videos, the government can stop that from getting into the country. We're going to be frickin' North Korea before you know it.
Well, talking about TikTok, yesterday the Senate in the US passed a bill for them to either sell it within 290 days or it gets taken off.
Yeah.
Now, that's, again, scary on so many levels. I hate TikTok. I think it's a cesspool. There are a lot of creatives on there that do some great work, but majority of it is a cesspool to me. I went on it very brief time. I don't know, I think I was on there for about a month and I hated it. Got off it. This is when it first started up. But now they're taking down social media platforms as well because they don't like what's on there. Like it or not, a lot of people are getting out their message on there. Being the left or the right side, doesn't matter. They're out there doing their messaging. I do not agree with it being totally taken down. Regulations, no, I'm not in favour of that either. Warnings, yes. If there's bad content, put a warning. That's it. It's the same thing when I was a lefty, and because as you know, I'm a huge fan of my movies. I used to always against censorship on movies, not allowing some movies to play or even taking sections out of the movie. I was always against that. Hated. I hope they never do it ever. But what's happened is they went out and did it, and they totally destroyed your choice of viewing it. Put a rating. I agree with the rating. Put a rated R, rated M, whatever, so we know what type of content is in there. Yeah. But don't chop it up because you think it needs to be chopped up. Or you don't like that scene, or there's too much kissing, or he flopped his wiggle out. Not for you, to decide. Let me decide. Give me the warning. Tell me, what type of content's in there. Then it's my choice.
Yeah. Well, this is the same principle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The same thing that Elon did with the stabbings.
That's what I mean.
You know, a warning content on there.
Yeah. Well, we did an episode on TikTok a little while back. You know.
Yeah, correct.
We were discussing then how it's different here to what it is in China.
Yeah.
You know what content is allowed over there. Like some of it's a lot more intellectual, I guess, than some of the stuff we see here.
Yeah, correct.
But you know, the platform's designed for kids. Really, let's be real. There's 13-year-old girls dancing. It's not, you know. Now we want to jump on that platform and use it in other ways. You know, there are people use it for marketing. You know, there's so many other ways that the platform's used now. But in reality, that's never what it was supposed to be intended for. I don't believe. So, but it's, as you said, it doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. You can put content on there and people can see it. Yeah. You know?
Well, talking about flopping out dicks.
Did we say that?
Yeah. This is Anthony Albanese.
Here's our dick.
Yeah, he's our dick, yeah.
We're going to get in trouble. Don't sue us, please.
I don't care.
We love you.
Yeah, come and take what I don't have anyway.
We don't love you.
What is it? You will have nothing and be happy.
Absolutely. Yeah, tell me they're not on board.
Well, I got nothing and I'm not happy. Come on. Anyway, this is Anthony Albanese, the Australian Prime Minister, who has jumped in on the bandwagon, of course. Oh, God, another dude I'm not a fan of.
It just shows his arrogance. This is an egotist, totally out of touch. He clearly sees this as a vanity project for himself.
You know,
a vanity project for himself.
You know what's ironic, right? You think about all the things that they're saying. All right, I've got a couple little quotes here, so excuse me referring to my notes. Okay, but here's a couple. Tanya Plibersek. He's an egotistical billionaire, right? Sarah Hanson-Young. He's a narcissistic cowboy. Anthony Albanese. He's an arrogant billionaire. And, of course, Jackie Lambie, who's the topic of the day, an absolute friggin' disgrace. Of course, she has to put the friggin' in.
Yeah.
Take all of that and apply it to Schwab. That's all I can tell you. And then, now, if you sit there for a second and think, let's forget Elon Musk, let's think about Schwab for a minute, right? And then watch all these videos back. That's exactly what they should be saying about Schwab.
Yeah.
Every one of these videos is exactly what, if they had any backbone and they weren't, you know, already part of the program, these are the things they would be saying about the WEF.
Why would they? They're all part of the same club.
That's my point.
Yeah.
They never will.
No.
They never will.
No.
Yep. But they should be.
They don't. They never will. And basically they're all scumbags. So.
That's exactly what, when you think about Klaus Schwab, egotistical billionaire, narcissistic cowboy, absolute freaking disgrace and an arrogant billionaire.
That guy, for some reason, has decided as a non-elected person to control the world in his image.
Yeah.
Well, not his image, but his
in
his
view.
Yeah, in his view.
Yep.
And he's been doing this a very long time.
Yeah.
It didn't just happen overnight. We just noticed it recently.
Correct. But he's essentially doing all the things that they're accusing Elon Musk of doing.
Yeah. And, you know, we're talking about Julie, Jacinta Ardern, Justin Trudeau?
Yeah. Canadian president,
Trudeau, not Thoreau. I'm thinking the actor, I think. They're all in this little...
So Justin Trudeau.
Justin Trudeau. They're all in this little club, you know, and this little club is going to control the world.
Yeah.
Problem is it's all now falling apart.
Yeah.
We
is
know.
It though?
Look at Canada.
So. We hope so.
Canada is now, apart from $30 burgers...
hot dogs.
Yeah, $30 hot dogs and you get a drink with it. We just saw that video earlier. That's crazy. I might try and look it up in a sec. But the guy goes to this takeaway and what was it? Beer was $18 or something, you know. And that's Canadian dollars. So $30 is roughly 33 Australian for that burger.
Yeah, it's very, very close, yeah.
It's got to be a damn good burger, I tell you. Yeah, anyway. So, so people are upset about that.
Yeah.
Look what happened in New Zealand as well, same thing. The lefty party totally died there. Canada it's happening, and we're starting to see this happening here.
Yeah.
The further they push it, the further pushback they'll get.
Well, I think that's why they're trying to censor social media, because social media right now is the reason why people are aware.
Yeah.
You know, and I think this goes back to conversations we've had in the past where, you know, like for yourself, you were a very left-leaning person, and you were quite happy to comply with what the government said to do because you had a lot of faith in the government until
Correct,
COVID came along, and then all of a sudden it gets to the point where you go, hang on a minute, this doesn't feel right. And I think that that's what happened for a lot of people. I'm one of those people. I have a really good friend who some people would consider a bit of a conspiracy sort of guy. I've always taken everything he said and thought about it a lot. I've never thrown it away and discarded it, but I've never really done much about it. I've just gone, well, that's absolutely amazing and fascinating. And then I go back to eating my sandwich. I don't think any more about it. But, you know, when COVID kicked in and he came to me and he said, oh, you want to be careful because this is going to happen and that's going to happen and something else is going to happen. And I sat there going, oh, well, we'll see. You know, he always has some big theories, but because I'm not paying that much attention, I could never tell you whether they're right or wrong. And then all the things that he predicted at the start of COVID all started to happen. And then I started to see the bigger picture in that period, you know, how the governments are working in lockstep. And, you know, we're hearing about these things happening in other countries and we sit there saying, well, oh, that won't happen here. You know, we've got a pretty good, you know, government here by comparison. You look at things like the farmers' strikes in Canada and, you know, all the different things that have happened over the last 5 years in other countries, and we go, oh, that won't happen here. They're all coming, and you can see that starting to happen now. So maybe you're right. Maybe it'll all disappear.
Yeah,
but it doesn't feel like it.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to do this show. Sort of like have a warning, get some warning bells ringing, because I've been paying attention to what was happening overseas. I could see it's going to filter through here. So I was hoping, okay, we might get a bit of it, but we'll be in a position where we've gone, okay, we've seen that over there, it doesn't work. Let's not bring it here, and make everyone aware, as many people as I can, regarding the issues.
Yeah.
And we've got to get onto it as early as possible.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here 5 years later and going, okay, all my rights are gone, I need to fight. It's too late then.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I'd like to do a show, and I'd love some people to flick us some ideas for content, but I'd like to do a show soon talking about the youth of Australia, because what we look at the moment, you look at the Prime Minister that we have, the issue we don't really have the issue we have with, you know, politics and the Australian government and the way Australia is running at the moment is that we don't have a lot of direction. So it's not that we have wrong direction. We're not at that point like other countries where the government and people of any sort of influence are trying to pull us in the wrong direction. We just don't have a direction. And I think about the kids today that are, I don't know, say maybe 10, 12 years of age and under. And those kids are they're getting to an age now where they're starting to be a little bit aware of what goes on, not to the degree that an adult would or a mid-teen, but they're starting to understand a little bit about how the world works already, especially with the amount of stuff that's on social media. There are 10-year-olds watching content on social media that, you know, it might not specifically be political, but it's about world events and culture. Yeah. They went through COVID, but they didn't go through COVID, if you know what I mean. They just did a bit of homeschooling and, that's different, you know, but they didn't have the same stresses that their parents had. So the parents are sitting there...
You think because they didn't get to play with their buddies at school?
Different stress.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they had no stress. They didn't have the same stresses. Parents are sitting there wondering about how they're going to feed their family. They're wondering about whether they're going to have a job. They're wondering about if we're ever going to come out of lockdown. And like most parents, we would have protected the kids from most of that information and just told them, don't worry about it. It'll all be fine. You've got to homeschool for a while, and then when the lockdowns, you know, lift for a little while, they can catch up with their friends. So yeah, it was a stressful time for kids too. I totally understand that, but it was a different type of stress. And I think that now, coming out of the other end of that, even in their early teens, like 13 and 14-year-olds who were, you know, 10 when that was happening, they had a perspective of what was happening, but they didn't have the whole story. They were too young to be given the whole story, right? Those kids now, it'd be interesting to see their view of the world at the moment, because they're getting bombarded constantly with a climate that's there's been over 35 or 40 something predictions of climate disasters, including end of world disasters, end of ice age or polar caps melting, all these sorts of things over the last sort of 50, 60 years that, 5 years from now, the world will end. 10 years from now, look at Greta Thunberg, she's another one. If we don't do something within the next 5 years or whatever it was, the world will end, basically. There was AOC's another one, a 6-year prediction of when the world's going to end. There's a countdown clock in America of when the world's due to end. They set it for, I think it was 12 years, and there's 6 years left to go. That's when the world's supposed to end, apparently. That's what the kids are focused on now. They're not focused on COVID. We talk about those things as adults because we just went through it. But, they're not focused on that. They're focused on other things. I would love to see their perspective on, whether they think they're ever going to be able to buy a house. There are 20-year-olds now who think they'll never be able to buy a house. I wonder what teenagers think.
I actually agree, because the cost of living is so different to when, I was younger and I'd bought my houses in those days. I was able to buy a house, have a partner, and a car, and feed us both on one wage.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that. There's no way you could do that unless you're in the top bracket of wages.
Yeah. Well, it's different now, for sure. We all know that.
Yeah.
But this is another... To me, this is another thing that, whether it's the government or social structure that's creating this divide. We've always had divides with race, we've had divides with sex, and now it seems that this generational divide where we talk boomer, Gen X, etc. I know millennials particularly. Usually it's a couple of generations apart. So you've got millennials walking around going, "Oh, bloody boomers! If it wasn't for them, they didn't do anything wrong. They had opportunities in front of them that this generation doesn't have." They took advantage of those opportunities. They didn't actually go out and rip anybody off or steal anybody or say, I want to buy 3 investment properties so my grandkids never get anything. They didn't do that.
Yeah.
They were just another young family at the time that was trying to get by, and they had opportunities. The government's what ruined that, not boomers.
Yeah. The last couple of generations had the most opportunities ever presented to anybody.
In history.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They could go into any of the regular fields. You can be in retail, into medical field, aviation, mechanical, whatever. But they have something else: social media. Yeah. So you can get into. You can even, I've seen videos of people dancing, like you mentioned earlier, and they're getting 5-6 million views for doing a little 30-second routine.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have a brain anymore. You just have to be talented in some way, and then find your audience. That's an opportunity for people that were shy, that didn't want to leave the household, that had some type of, even a disability. They could find something they had a passion in and present it online.
Well, that's an opportunity we didn't have.
No,
so,
exactly.
So different generations have different opportunities. There are plenty of multi-millionaire YouTubers in their 20s.
Sure, and we had more opportunities than the previous generation to us as well.
Yeah, they're just different opportunities. Yeah. But it feels like the government and people like the WF are taking every opportunity to take that away from those kids.
Totally agree.
And and I think it would be great to focus on a lot of that in the future. So if anyone wants to contribute any content, talk to us.
Yeah.
But that's I would love to touch more on that stuff in the future because
I'm sure we will overcome. We've got we'll be here for
while we
about
can
20 years.
while we can
while we're allowed to. Yes, absolutely.
So
okay.
Yeah.
So basically, I did find that video about the burgers while you were having a bit of a chat. So let me just line this up, and I'm pretty sure I've got my sound worked out this time. And he's the poor dude.
I'm at the Jays game right now, and the price for food is actually outrageous. Look at these. $30 for chicken tenders. $30 for full-on hot dog meal. That's outrageous. Tacos and a margarita, $30. Down drink, $27 for tacos. For a plant-based bowl and a Coke, $26. $18 for a beer. 18 bucks. $11 for a souvenir fountain beverage. Come on! One pizza Nova slice, more than $8. That's just not right. One thing, though, that the Rogers Center does have going on, though, tonight, Niners, $1 hot dogs. Not gonna lie, I would actually save almost $90 for the Applewood Smoke Brisket nachos. Obviously, it's not just the Jays that has prices like this, but it's just a reminder that any sporting event has such expensive food.
Well,
Yeah, I mean that's always been the same sporting food, but that is getting pretty ridiculous. Like you, here in Australia, we'll pay like $12 for a pie or something. I think it might even be more now, $15 for a pie. So yeah, but then those prices, I think we're about if you were trying to do a quick conversion, you had probably about 10 or 12% more. So if they're $30, we're about $33 to $35 for the same thing. So imagine, I know that those events can be pricey, but a hot dog and a drink for $33 or $35. I mean, how are you supposed to take a family to that?
yeah, correct. That's one meal.
Yeah,
It's,
it's not even. It's not
your
even a
partner
meal.
and your kid, or
In my case, it's like
Yeah.
half a meal. But yeah, you take your partner
Yeah.
and two kids,
yeah,
or gone are the days when your friends say, oh, little Johnny wants to go with you with your kids to the footy. Can he tag along with you? Absolutely. Now it's like, yeah, but you've got to give me $50 because I've got to got to pay for his food.
yeah.
You
I mean, sports fans are a different breed of people. Imagine the US, the hillbillies we were talking about, mother, father, and 35 kids. Buying them. It's like a bucket of chips in one chip for everybody.
Yeah, one
else,
chip each. Yeah.
Oh, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's lighten the mood a bit, like we usually do at the end of the episode. I mean, censorship is a pretty heavy subject for any person because you don't want that in your life.
And the way things are going at the moment, no doubt we'll touch on this again over the coming weeks.
Oh, absolutely, especially if the way this story is developing, because Musk will kick back.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting how the Australian courts address this, because like I said, the previous episode, we don't have the First Amendment.
Yeah.
We don't have the freedom of speech. So anyway, a couple of days ago, new preview movie preview came out, trailer.
Yep.
And for a change, it's not a trailer of a trailer. It's actually a trailer.
Yep.
And it's the new Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah, I'm so looking forward to this.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. It's 2.5 minutes long. And, guess what? I forgot to switch off Twitter again. And, let's get into this little preview.
I told you, you're not welcome here. You're not welcome anywhere. Now get the fuck out of my bar.
Just give me one more drink and then I'll leave.
Hi, Peanut. I'm gonna need you to come with me right now.
Look, lady, I'm not interested.
All right, well, I'm sort of on the tick-tick, so
Upsy daisy. Here we go.
Oh, whiskey dick of the claws. It's quite common in Wolverines over 40.
You don't want this.
Unless you want to take a deep breath through your fucking forehead, I suggest you reconsider.
So what do you think? It's an alternate timeline again?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just feels like a completely different movie to the other preview.
Yeah.
If I didn't know better, I'd say there were two movies coming out.
Oh, two Deadpool. Well,
Well, I know there isn't, but it just
Yeah.
the feel of the other previews. This is a different.
Do you
feel
think the
to
other
it.
one's a lot more jovial, a bit more laid back?
Oh, it just feels like there's a different sort of
Yeah.
story to it. Like
Oh,
the other
okay.
one, it feels like when we watched the other one, like they weren't even talking to each other.
Yeah.
Because there was a scene where Wolverine just suddenly appeared. They were in the middle of the desert or
That's
something.
right. Yeah. When he was on his back and there was a shadow of Wolverine.
Yeah, and it felt like up to that point they hadn't even spoken.
Yeah.
And yet now this feels like, well, not that this is the start of the movie, but it feels like, is this the start of the movie and they're already talking to each other? So
Yeah.
that's why it feels like it's setting a different movie.
Disney owns Marvel Studios, so they have this usual trope that they've been doing lately, which is getting a well-established, strong character and making them really piss poor at the start of the movie. Then they have this growth. Look at Indiana Jones. You look at Luke Skywalker, what they did to his character. They made him absolute derelicts and then kind of try and build him up. And they've done, by the looks of it, they've done it with Wolverine as well. But he's always been,
but he's always
grumpy.
been dark, grumpy. He should be on our show. He's a grumpy old man. but look at Logan.
We couldn't afford him.
Well, he's an Aussie. He might help us out.
Yeah.
We look at the movie Logan. you know, and he looks similar in that. You know.
Yeah, but he kind of looks like he's given up on everything. He doesn't care about his world, his version of the world. So, yeah, okay, let's continue with this. Oh, he's got the comic book outfit.
I'm about to lose everything that I've ever cared about.
Not my fucking problem.
Is that what you said when your world went to shit?
Come again.
This Wolverine let down his entire world.
Want to talk about what's haunting you, or should we wait for a third act flashback?
Go fuck yourself.
And you were worried about swearing?
It definitely feels like a crossover of universes or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, they're talking about my world, this world.
Well, the fact, like I mentioned, he's wearing the comic book outfit, the yellow, because in what is it, Earth 1, he's wearing the black outfit with the black X on there. So, which looked good, but this is comic book stuff.
The one thing I will say about the swearing is it does actually bother me. I mean...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know. I know this is Australia and we swear a lot and all that sort of stuff, but you're dealing with Marvel characters. These are kids. You know, kids go to see this stuff, and
Deadpool's always been rated R.
Oh, yeah, I know, but Wolverine hasn't.
Has it?
I don't think so. Even if it has...
Wasn't Logan rated R?
I don't know. Maybe.
I can't remember.
I don't know. But even if it has,
yeah.
right, you got young kids that, you know, are watching this stuff because these are their idols, you know, and then that's how they talk now.
Yeah.
A few years ago, they wouldn't have got away with that. You know, now it's fucking this and fucking that. And it's like,
unlike our show.
Yeah, well, I thought the gloves are off now. Might as well just fucking swear. No, but seriously, it's, you know, but you see what I mean? Like, even a preview, like you get a few words in the movie, but it's like the preview. It's we're only a minute, not even a minute in, and they've said the F word about 6 times.
Yeah, but don't you think that sets the tone of the movie? And Deadpool's always been rated R, both movies. So this to me just looks like normal Deadpool.
I don't know. I just feel like if your 7-year-old neighbour comes to your house at Halloween in a Deadpool costume and says, "Give me your fucking candy," I wouldn't complain to his parents. You know, because that's what we're putting in front of these kids.
Because remember, going back to one of the earlier Marvel movies, Wolverine made an appearance in the post-credit scene. Then you had Magneto and Professor X turn up.
Yeah.
This is when they were in younger versions of themselves. They walked up to Wolverine, they asked him to join, and Wolverine just turned around and said, "Fuck off." You know, so he's been swearing for a little while. Cause he's been
I suppose.
But in the X movies, I don't think he swore at all.
Yeah, I don't think he did either.
I should re-watch Logan. It's been a while since I watched that. Yeah.
Anyway, I just feel like it's getting worse, that's all.
Possibly.
I don't know anything about saving worlds, but you do.
Trust me, kid, I'm no hero.
You were an X-Man.
God, he still looks great.
You were the X-Man.
Hugh Jackman's amazing.
I am soaking wet right now.
Boys are so silly.
This is what I'm talking about. Big slow motion action sequence. Who knows if you live or die? Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
All right, since you noticed it, I've noticed how often they swear as well. But there's a couple of things I noticed. The blonde female, Professor X, you reckon, of that world?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah,
good point.
Yeah, and also when you saw that helmet open up, that looked like Ant-Man's helmet.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
totally. That's the first thing I noticed, yeah.
And they just stopped it from seeing the skeleton, so it looks like he became huge, and then he kind of died or something, and just...
Yeah, be interesting. It's kind of like The Flash. Remember the Flash
Yeah.
movie that just came out recently
Yeah.
with that crossover between the worlds?
Yeah.
It kind of
Two
feels like
Flashes,
it, it feels like it's kind of,
Yeah.
and then the Supergirl instead of Superman. It feels like it's kind of playing along the same sort of lines to that.
I mean, if she's Professor X, great. I don't care about, because fictional characters, I don't care if they gender swap them or anything like that. It's all good. It's all good.
Want to do some cocaine?
Hey, cocaine is the one thing that Feige said is off limits.
What about Bolivian marching powder?
They know all the slang terms. They have a list.
Even snowboarding?
Even disco dust.
White girl interrupted?
Even forest bump.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Yes!
Cool. Not too far away. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I think Deadpool's probably the best character out of all of them, I think.
Yeah.
Big fan of him. And as well as Logan, Wolverine.
Yeah. Well, Ryan Reynolds always plays that part really, really well. So.
But he plays that cheeky character in a lot of movies.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why it suits him.
The main difference between Deadpool and the other ones is the swearing, I guess.
Yeah.
It's that kind of...
Oh, look, that's just me being me. I got kids.
Who knows? That might be the only swearing they do in the whole movie, and they've put it all into the trailer.
Yeah.
To add a bit of impact.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, there you go.
Another great episode. Thank you very much for joining us. It was a bit of fun, and hopefully we have some great news regarding censorship next time. If you
Interesting.
If you haven't liked the video, please do subscribe to the channel. We would love your support, of course, because your support is very important to us, and we would appreciate it. And hopefully you've had a great day today, and we'll see you in the next video. And it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
I